I've either got to admit that I made a mistake in 2008 and come to your senses and vote differently, or you're going to have to once again cast a ballot knowing full well what you're going to see over the next 4 years. More of the same. I thought that certainly Vice President Biden demonstrated that he is a far more experienced and far more entrenched Washington animal than Paul Ryan is to this point in his career. But I think in terms of content, in really understanding and believing at his core what he was saying, I think that Representative Ryan blew the hair plugs out of Vice President Biden's head. And to me, the most telling exchange during that debate was actually towards the end, where the question of abortion and how one's religious beliefs inform their decisions. And now the question was a setup because both Vice President Biden and Representative Ryan are both professing Catholics. So knowing full well that Vice President Biden is on the record as having been pro-choice, and knowing full well that Representative Ryan has openly professed to be pro-life, the goal here was to try and create another talking point, ostensibly on the war on women and being anti-choice. But what was most interesting was the way the two candidates answered that question. Representative Ryan acknowledged that his faith informs how he thinks about issues, and that he agrees with his particular religion and their doctrine when it comes to being pro-life. But he also went on to point out that he views it that way from a scientific and a biological standpoint as well, and was able to defend the pro-life position quite admirably. It was clear that Representative Ryan was comfortable in his skin. He was comfortable in understanding the intersection of faith and public policy. On the other hand, Vice President Biden was visually anguishing over the answer. You could watch the wheels turn inside his head, trying to strain out an answer to ensure that he didn't somehow trip up. And I find it very difficult to have a lot of respect for someone who professes to hold a profound belief. I mean, let's face it, faith, belief in God, religion, those are profound things. Who can say with a straight face, I accept my church's teachings when it comes to pro-life, but I can't bring myself to bring that into the public policy debate on an issue that relates to nothing short of the very first of the inalienable rights that we are endowed by our Creator, the right to life. Vice President Biden demonstrated that he is a double-minded man. And that That to me was the most telling exchange between the two. The other was the fact that Vice President Biden apparently, somewhere along the way, kind of missed those periods in our history that we had shown where cutting taxes actually increased revenues to the government, during that Kennedy era and who was that other president? Oh, yeah, Ronald Reagan. The longest period of peacetime growth in the history of this country. But it's been demonstrated time and time again. But apparently, Vice President Biden didn't get the memo. We'll continue this conversation on the other side as we continue here on the Palmetto Conservative Show, here on the Conservative Broadcast Media Network. Stay tuned.
I always loved watching the kids play basketball. I still do, even though things have changed. It's funny, they can't find jobs to get their careers started. And I can't afford to retire. And now we're all living together again. I supported President Obama because he spoke so beautifully. He promised change, but things changed for the worse. Obama started spending like our credit cards have no limit. His healthcare law made health insurance even more expensive. We've had stimulus and bailouts. Obama added almost $16,000 in debt for every American. How will my kids pay that off when they can't even find jobs? Now Obama wants more spending and taxes. That won't fix things. I had so many hopes. Cutting taxes and debt and creating jobs. That's the change we need. Tell President Obama to cut the job-killing debt and support the New Majority Agenda at newmajorityagenda.org.
Is the economy getting you down? Are you looking for something to keep the kids occupied while you wait in that long unemployment line? Then do we have the product for you? Wacko Toys, makers of the Alvin Green for Senator action figure, are proud to present their newest innovation, the Lindsey Graham Boomerang, sure to lighten even the most persistent loafers.
Hey kids, look what's new from Wacko Toys.
Oh, geez. What now?
Hey, it's got pretty flowers on it.
That's right. And with just a flick of a rather limp wrist, you can send your Lindsey Graham Boomerang on its dizzying 6-year journey of principled compromise. Plus, if you order in the next 22.5 seconds, we'll even include our exclusive reverse polarized liberal looking glasses, so you can track your Lindsey Graham Boomerang's progress through the left side of the aisle, jumping on the bandwagon of popular decisions like amnesty for illegal aliens, excessive federal spending, cap and trade, and confirmation of progressive activist judges. But don't worry, kids. Every 6 years, your Lindsey Graham Boomerang will come flaming back to the right, so you'll know it's really on your side.
Come on, kids. Let's give it a try.
Wait a minute. It won't be back for 6 years?
Mommy, Daddy's doing it again.
It's the Lindsey Graham Boomerang, scheduled to return to the right sometime before November 2014, only from Wacko Toys. Wacko Toys product number LGBT11910, not available in the states of clarity and rationality. Thousands of restrictions and federal regulations will apply. Patent pending EPA environmental impact disclosures.
to News Busted. I'm Jody Miller. Let's get started. Vice President Biden laughed, smirked, and interrupted throughout last week's debate. Apparently, fatal terror attacks, record unemployment, a nuclear Iran, and trillion-dollar deficits are hilarious. As mentioned throughout last week's vice presidential debate, Paul Ryan faced rude interruptions and a slew of liberal talking points. And that was just from debate moderator Martha Raddatz. During the VP debate, some viewers wondered why Ryan drank more water than Biden. That's because Biden's water was vodka. NBC political director Chuck Todd called the work of pollster Scott Rasmussen slop. You know what that must mean. Romney's ahead. DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz actually said that just because the information the administration gave about Libya was wrong, that doesn't mean it's false. No, Debbie, it means it's a lie. African-American actress Stacey Dash has come out on Twitter saying she supports Mitt Romney. Racist. Esquire magazine has named Mila Kunis as its sexiest woman alive. And they named Lindsay Lohan the sexiest woman who may soon not be alive. And finally, last week, President Obama touched down in Los Angeles for another big Hollywood fundraiser. Thanks for watching News Busted, everybody. I'm Jody Miller. Be sure to subscribe to our videos on YouTube, and we'll catch you next time.
Welcome back into the Palmetto Conservative Show here on the Conservative Broadcast Media Network. I'm your host, Jim Lee, and again, thanks to the producers here at the Conservative Broadcast Media Network for supplying those ads and inserts. Always love News Busted, a nice lighter look at the news. Well, we've had a quite a rambling show this evening. Again, apologize for the inability to have call-in this evening, but we'll hopefully have that fixed and back in place for next week's program. And we've got some great things planned over the coming weeks. A number of folks here within the South Carolina political spectrum who we hope to bring in here to spend some time with us. Again, my goal is not to simply throw heat, but rather to shed light and to really dig deeper into some of the issues before us here in the Palmetto State. Most of this evening has been focused around the presidential race, the presidential debates, vice presidential debates, but I did start the program a bit with the discussion of what's at stake here in South Carolina in November. Now, one thing that I would like to see be of more import here in South Carolina is related to this recent study that 4 years after President Barack Hussein Obama was elected president, this is not exactly a post-racial America. There is a new study from Washington University in St. Louis that finds that under Obama, many black Americans feel less free than whites when it comes to political participation. Now stick with me because this has some interesting twists and turns to it. From 2005 to 2011, only 45% of blacks said they believed the government would allow them to make a public speech, while 67% of whites believed they could, the study found. The study found that while the election of Obama initially boosted feelings of political empowerment among black Americans, those sentiments significantly faded in the years that followed, especially among conservative and religious blacks. Those two groups make up a large segment of the black population, with 56% of blacks identifying as